of the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, Deke Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side.
Welcome to the 49er Faithful UK show. The 2022 season exists only now in our memories. But they are some memories, both good and bad, that are well worth looking back on. It's the season review show. I'm Gareth Ellis, and here to unpick the season and some of their bold predictions, it's Lee Gowland.
Hey guys.
Paul Hope.
Hi everyone.
And Naji Karar.
Hello everyone.
So lads, let's just dive straight in. 2022 season. Bye week was week 9. So he started the season with the Bears, Seahawks, Broncos, Rams, Panthers, Falcons, Chiefs, and the Rams again. Quite a lot happened in the early part of the season. Lee, kick us off.
Yeah, I mean, we had so high hopes going into the season. We were all looking forward to seeing what Trey could do. We get to week 1, which should have been the very first official watch party for the 49ers, which was obviously cancelled because Queen Elizabeth died like 3 days beforehand. But we still all turned up to Leeds. We all turned up to Leeds to watch the Bears game, and then it was a monsoon. And it was a terrible game to watch. We still should have won. We didn't make the best of the conditions when we had the chance, and it kind of it set off a series of events, which by I think week 4, week 5 had pretty much all Niner fans thinking that's it, our season is done. So it wasn't the best half of a season that we've had. We had to take some really rough medicine watching some of that football. Obviously, week 2, first quarter, we lose Trey Lance. And we all sat thinking, good job that we kept Jimmy. And I don't think anybody would have thought that before the season started. So it turned so quickly from good to bad to good to bad. It was hard to keep up. It was definitely a roller coaster half of football, half of a season. That's the best way to describe the first 8 or 9 games. It was a roller coaster. Everybody went through different emotions. I think obviously the Bears game because of the monsoon, horrible game to watch. We should have beaten the Bears. The Bears were what turned out to be the worst team in football. And then we come up against the Broncos, and everybody's really up for that game, thinking we finally going to get to stick one on Russell Wilson. And then he beats us.
Well, Jimmy beats us, really.
Well, yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, when you look at the win-loss column, it's always the opposing team's quarterback. But then it picks up again, only to be smashed around the mouth yet again when the 49ers turn up to Leeds again, and this whole Leeds curse thing kicks off. And we play against the Falcons. Again, we just can't contain a running quarterback. Everybody's looking for a length of rope to hang themselves from the nearest bridge. And it felt pretty lousy, to be honest.
Yeah,
we felt as though we were losing the whole season. So my thoughts of the first half of the season, it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag which finished giving us hope. But then we had the bye week, which we had to wait for to see that hope come to reality. What about you, Naji?
Well, I like that we're jumping week 1, but I think, considering the season and where we are now and the back end of the season, I think there's a big part of the season that we kind of paid attention to that we don't really do most of the time, but I think was quite important this year. That's preseason and training camp. And I think it was a good one. I think we had a really good camp looking back on it. And the fact that somebody called Nate Sudfeld lost his job to a little known somebody called Brock Purdy turned out to be quite important. And I've just looked at the game he played because, kind of forget about preseason, but he played against the Vikings in preseason and against the Packers. And, he was already there, 14 for 23, 128 yards. And what was it on this one? It's not loading. Here we go. 3 for 6. So he didn't play much against the Packers. But I think looking back on the season, that time was actually quite important for us, even though we didn't know at the time. And it was all like, oh, the preseason, and nobody cares about it. And it turns out the people that did care made it count later on. But more on that later. And then, I think the best way to describe week 1 to 8 is up and then down and then up and then down. And I think really down and really up this year, because it was a bit like 2019, wasn't it? Because we were 3-5 2019, same again by week 9, so not far off. And but losing to the Bears, pretty bad, although excusable. And then we beat the Seahawks quite handedly, which is obviously really nice. But we have Jimmy, and it's just like, and then we go to the Broncos, and that loss was pretty awful. It might have been the worst game I've seen us play in quite some time in terms of football. Playing time, not bad luck. More on that later. And then up again, and then down again, and then the Falcons game, which was another match party, and then the Chiefs game, which was pretty awful with all the injuries. The Panthers game was quite a high one because we were really good and we got Rule fired and all that, so we were all excited about it. And then right back down again with the Falcons and the Chiefs in a row. So I think epitome of what the Niners have been for the Jimmy years, really, is this roller coaster of very high highs and very low lows. What about you, Paul? What do you think of it?
To be honest, I'm chuckling because, like the chaps, Gareth, I've got the schedule in front of me. And you get to this wonderful time of the NFL off season, and you go back and you look at your memories and you look at certain games. And ironically, Nadji, I think I had like 8 watch parties last year, which was pretty epic for different reasons. And I think, Lee, you skirted over one of the main points for me, the Candlestick Inn. We pretty much missed the Trey Lance injury, Nadji, because we were reliant on the Sky Sports. And there was that faff on with the 10 minutes. And then literally it seemed to come on. We'd all had a few beverages, thanks to Brett and Melanie. And then Trey went down and we were like, the mood, just like you said, the emotional roller coaster that we've coined in this show is more evident in the first 9 weeks of the season. And to be fair, Gareth, we went into the bye week 4-4, and I had everything crossed because my bold prediction was 13-4. And if I'm being brutally honest for everybody listening, I didn't think for a million years at that point I was going to be right. So I'm smiling because for me, it's been a hell of a journey. You look at the quarterback list, Trey Lance, Garoppolo, Purdy, and you think, the journey we went on this year, I know we fell short in the NFC Championship game, which we'll get to. But for me, it was just a hell of a journey that I shared with everybody in the group, online, offline. We had the watch parties. We've launched our YouTube channel. And I've had time, Gareth, to go back and watch some of the games, not all of the games. But the first 9 weeks, there was the lows of the Broncos, there was the highs of the Panthers. I think for all of us was the Rams, for me, when we went into the bye week and we had CMC. And we knew he was awesome, Gareth, but we didn't think he was going to throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, and catch a touchdown. And I think that gave all of us that hope, as Lee said, and I think we were proven right. What about you, Gareth? What did you make of the first chunk of the season?
Yeah, some muddy games in figuratively and actually in that early part of the season. Unfortunately, I think that Broncos game is going to stay with me for some time, regardless of whether I'd want to or not. And I still remember just watching Jimmy backpedal out of the end zone, and just thought, that's it. That's the perfect moment for this game. It sums that game up entirely. But the arrival of CMC, suddenly there seemed to be a transformation. It was about that time Jimmy suddenly started to look really quite comfortable and competent as well. And I think that arrival of CMC was a little bit of a taste of things to come after a bit of a knotty first half of the season. But I think there's something useful to learn from here, and that's a lot of teams can do this early in the season. You've just got to figure yourself out, make sure you can stay competitive, and then work on what's good and eliminate what's bad. And that's exactly what we did in the second half of the season. I will just remind you of your mid-season predictions. Paul, you were 7-1, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Down, if I can find them. Naji 5-3, so you're not too far off. Lee was 6-2, and I was 4-4. Bang on.
Oh, very nice.
Well done, Gareth.
Well done, Gareth, indeed.
Some other notable predictions. Lee predicted Jimmy G would be starting from week 3.
Oh, wow.
You mentioned it in passing.
Well,
yeah.
About 4 or 5 minutes later, you also said that Jimmy G would be traded away by week 3. So
we're consistently inconsistent, Gareth. You know that by now.
And later on,
old people say some crazy things.
And later on, Naji suggested that would be to the Steelers.
Oh,
shows how far our predictions are out. So, bye week's done. Second half of the season. Who do we face? Chargers, Cardinals, Saints, Dolphins, Bucks, Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, and Cardinals again, including the first Cardinals game in Mexico City, of course.
Yes.
Let's start with Paul.
Well, I was just going to say, Gareth, you reminded me of that Broncos game, and it would be a miss for me not to share this story with everyone. So I travelled down for the Falcons watch party with Andy Hodgson, and he was actually at the Broncos game. So chatting to him about his experience there, the amount of money it cost to go over. He, like you, will remember that game, but maybe he's not for the right reasons, and I felt for him. Sorry, I thought there was something wrong with... It sounds like I'm echoing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Gareth's mic in the speakers or something.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
So, the back end of the season, I mean, I've got it up in front of me. What can I say?
W.
We won. We won every game. We won every game. I mean, you look at the highs and lows. The second half of the season saw us 4 feature on the 49ers Supporters Club Live, which for me was one of the many highlights of this season. It was just awesome to go on there and represent the UK, but obviously talk on the website of the team that we love. But I was looking at the games. I think for all of us, before we move on to the Purdy loving, I think we should take this moment to reflect how well Jimmy played when he came in. And you look at the stats, and when he went out injured in that Miami game, I think all of us were like, oh, this is definitely the season. But then the Brock Express took off, and we all shared that magical journey. And I mean, for me, the best game was probably the Tampa Bay game, purely because I was out at my local casino, so I was watching that one. It was kind of good to see Brock stick it to Tom Brady. I'm not going to lie about that. The Arizona game in Mexico, for many reasons, like our watch party, it was awesome to see the fans in Mexico get that opportunity. And I quite enjoyed that game. But like I said, we won 10 in a row, baby. What more can I say, Gareth?
Nothing, apparently. Naji.
Yeah, the second half of the season is probably the best football I've seen us play whilst me watching avidly. You know, and obviously doing this podcast, we watch it somewhat different than just being sat with a beer and friends and chatting and all that. But seeing our defense going from strength to strength and carrying some games, you know, like the Saints games and the Chargers games, and seeing Jimmy play the way he was with CMC, and there's no doubt to me that CMC unlocked something in our offense and unleashed a Kyle that we hadn't seen yet. And having Ayuk carry on playing the way he was, and Kittle starting to emerge, and Debo being who he always is. It's just, we became a complete team, and no one really had an answer for us. And I don't think no one has an answer for us apart from, we'll get to the playoffs in a minute, apart from the gods. But yeah, it was the most fun I had watching, and the least concern as well. I don't think I really had, especially the Dolphin games. Obviously, was a bit gut wrenching. But when we were playing this well against the Rams and against who do we play after the Rams? I can't remember now. The Chargers. I never had really that feeling that something was going to go very wrong and we could lose a game just like this, like in 2019 where we were undefeated and it was just always a bit tense and a bit hairy to be sat there and waiting for something bad. And it just kept on being fun and more fun and more fun. And then Brock came in and then that just took it to the next level, times 1 million. And yeah, it's just I don't think I will ever forget this season, even when I'm hopefully 152 and still kicking. Just got a wish here on you. It's been incredible, and I think the first part of the season helped because of such a hard roller coaster. We knew we could get there, and seeing it happening and seeing the team finally reach the potential that I wanted to be for so long, and having all those pieces play so well, and Fred being who he was, and Huff being, so good, and Bosa being, playing at DPOI level. It's just, it was just amazing to watch this franchise, this dynasty that's been in the making, finally achieve almost what we really wanted to. And I don't think I'll ever forget this. And obviously we got Brock. So what can I say? I love the guy. Absolutely amazing to watch him emerge and win 8 in a row. And people have been really confused about what is going on and how can this guy be so good, being number 262 in the draft, and with us being there as well and seeing the pick and all that, it had a little bit more flavor to it. But yeah, I think for me, again, it's one of the best season I've watched and enjoyed, and I don't think I'll ever forget it until we win number 6 and then be all gone. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I said the first half of the season was like a roller coaster. I think the second half of the season was like being shot out of a cannon. We went that high so quickly. It was absolutely amazing for me, both personally as a 49er fan. I think you've covered pretty much everything that I could possibly say about the season. So the second half, when we went up against the Chargers, I think we were quite fortunate. The Chargers were quite injury riddled.
Yes.
So we weren't really going up against a team that were at the best, because I think I had that one down as a loss.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, it was a good start to the second half of the season, and then it just kept on getting better. And you could just see by how many points we were putting on the board. CMC made such a difference; it was unbelievable. And as Paul said, Jimmy looked a lot more comfortable with CMC in the backfield to pass off with a check down if he needed to. But then he started opening up with some longer throws, which we hadn't seen since 2017. So we all started getting this feeling again, you know what, this is going to be our year. The season went on. We ground out a win against the Saints. And let's give the Saints defense some credit. They played really well. To shut them out and still win 13 zip, I think was a good result, if not the best game to watch. And then obviously Miami, and we lose Jimmy in the first quarter, in the first 3 minutes. And everybody was thinking, I mean, Paul mentioned it. I looked at Nick Ludlam, I looked at David Ellicott, and we were like, oh, that's it. That's our season gone. I mean, what should have been a really good day for us in the gold mine, all of a sudden we went from a really high to feeling incredibly flat. We were like a Tom Brady football 5-6 years ago. We're feeling really deflated. And we just... It took a couple of minutes to get over that. Brock came in and he had a few wayward passes on that first drive. In fact, in the first half he did. So we were all looking at each other thinking, yeah, don't know if we can do this now. Obviously, we had a good start on some of the teams in our division. The Seahawks were still kicking about. So we were very nervous. But then he came out in the second half and we were absolutely gobsmacked with what a difference between his first half and his second half was. So obviously Shanahan had made some adjustments, given Brock some confidence, started calling players or what Brock does well, and it started to all come together. And then the rest, as they say, is history. Obviously went up against Tom Brady and basically wiped the floor with the Buccaneers. I mean, nobody expected that. It could have been Jimmy, it could have been Trey Lance. At the start of the season, if you said, we're going to wipe the floor with the Buccaneers, people would have said you were crazy.
Yeah.
So he kind of passed that test. He was the very first rookie to ever beat Tom Brady. So as he goes along, he's starting to tick these off. So obviously against the Dolphins...
He's the only ever rookie to beat Tom Brady since he's retired now.
That's right, yeah. So obviously against the Dolphins, very first Mr. Irrelevant to throw a touchdown pass. So tick that one off, yeah. He's in Canton now, or his jersey is at least. Then there was the Bucs game against Tom Brady. But then there was the real test, or at least we thought was going to be the real test. Going up to Seattle, playing against that crowd. And he came through that with flying colours. I mean, he played excellent that game. And for how good he played, I think we were also thinking, no, this can't be right. This can't be right. He shouldn't be able to do that. There's something not right here. And then we went on and on and on, and it was like a juggernaut. We kept on putting up these high numbers. We kept on beating these teams. Almost a little bit of a blip against the Raiders, but we pulled that through. We won the game. And we got to the end of the season. And again, I mean, admittedly, I'm going to hold my hands up and still say it. At the end of the season, I was still thinking, this is far too good to be true. He shouldn't be able to do that. Is it the rest of the team around him? But as we'll talk in a little bit time, he's the real deal. He is. And when I say the real deal, I mean, he's probably the best quarterback we've seen play for us for a while. That might not be true next season. You know, once Lance gets reps under his belt, that might not be true. But let's talk about what we've seen so far. And what we've seen so far, definitely this past season, Brock Purdy was by far our best quarterback. So I've kind of concentrated on the offensive side of the ball there. And now flip that over to the defense. The defense, again, ever since that the Chiefs game, we just kicked into another gear. Every week that went past, we got better and better and better. And the team, the bonding, the family in there, in the defense, it was everybody could see it. We were absolutely excellent. And again, defenses win championships. So we start to get excited. And that was one of the things I think that we were all thinking, well, is it the defense winning these games? Even though we could see what Brock was doing, we didn't allow ourselves to believe what we were seeing with our own eyes. We would second guess ourselves. Oh, well, no, it's got to be Kittle, it's got to be CMC, it's got to be Ike, it's got to be Debo, it's got to be the defense. And it took us a while before we actually gave credit to Brock. So the second half of the season, I think I agree with Najee. That is the best season I've seen for a long time. And that's saying something, considering we didn't bring home number 6. It was a fantastic season overall. Lovely roller coaster that built up your emotions, got all bubbling, thinking what's going to happen here. And then to finish it, like and Paul will tell you, because Paul likes to say it, this is what Lisa always says. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I was over the moon with the way we finished.
Yeah, back end of the season was fantastic set of games. The wins just kept coming. As you said, bit of a dip momentarily, I think, when Jimmy went out. I think there was a couple of us who were still, Purdy did well in preseason. Let's see what he can do. I remember thinking, okay, well, we know our offense isn't based around the quarterback being awesome all the time. Let's see what he can do. We've seen Mullins do it. There was a little bit of confidence there. I can say it now, but I remember thinking, well, how much more has he got to do with these weapons? Jimmy just distributes the ball crisply and evenly and was looking really good. If he can do that, then we might be in. And as I think you said, he just seemed to take it to another level and attack and push the ball down the field in a way that Jimmy didn't. I think, however it is between him and Shanahan, Shanahan just seemed to trust him immediately and just seemed to open that playbook from the second game. Like, oh, you know this stuff. We're just going to do the plays that I want. And Brock was just hitting them time and time and time again with accurate, quick passes where they needed to be and to the person they needed to be. And he just sat there and were amazed at that. This is good quarterback play from a veteran, from a 5-year veteran playing at the top of their game. And it's his third start. So what are we seeing? I think there's some limitations to his game, obviously, and I think it being a bit of an unknown, but it was certainly exciting. I think you've covered a little bit on the defense, but yeah, that was what we'd seen most of the season. I think they solidified it. That Chiefs game, when I watched that back, it's about 3 big plays. That's the kind of difference. We weren't blown away as much as the score perhaps felt like it at the end of the game. But that's what the Chiefs can do, and I think that's one thing that our offense does sometimes miss is that real big play where you suddenly need it. Something to look forward to for next season. But yeah, that took us through to the final season predictions. We all went 6-3 on the back end on our predictions. So well done, Paul. You nailed 13-4. Lee, 12-5. And me and Nadji on 11-6.
Oh, I thought I was on 12-5. I didn't remember that.
No.
All right, fair enough.
Unfortunately not, but there we go. So we win the division. When did we win the division? Week 15? Week 14?
Yeah,
week quite early, I think, didn't we? Yeah. It was,
in Seattle,
satisfying game in Seattle. Then a couple of little games towards the end of the season, and then the wild card with Seattle visiting Levi's. Memories of the game, lads?
I remember it to be a easy game, and as it should have been. I think that's the difference between the first half and also 2019, because I feel like the first half of the season in 2019 was very much the same, and the difference with the second half was we won game we should win, and we won game easily that we should have won easily, and that one was just they just had nothing. It was a bit tight in the first quarter and the second quarter because of a couple of big play and Mooney Ward having maybe his worst game of the season. But as soon as they got a little tired and we got rolling, there was no stopping us, and we put 41 points on them. I think it's probably one of the most comfortable win we ever had, even though I know people were a bit antsy at halftime because it was a little closer than they wanted it to be. But I think that's the difference between the two teams that I've seen, and this is why it's been more enjoyable. We knew it was there, and we knew it was going to happen at some point against anyone. Brock would find a way to make a big play and score some points, and the defense would find a way to make a big turnover and change the game. And it happened time and time again, and they did it against Seattle fairly easily. I mean, this is a problem with wildcards, with having an extra team in. I think we're going to have a lot of games like this in the future where the number 2 seed plays the number 7, and it's not really fair. I know it's going to happen the other way around as well sometimes because it's the NFL, but I think overall we'll have games like this where it's 41-20 or whatever it was, and it wasn't even 20, was it? Because it scored really late. It was pretty much a wipe down, which is nice to see against the Seahawks. Always. Third time that season. How can you not love this season? We beat the Seahawks 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of that, we were all a little bit nervous, if we're honest with ourselves, especially after what happened last year in the NFC Championship.
In 21,
Yeah, going up against a divisional rival for the 3rd time, it's hard to beat them 3 times. And because of the history with the Seahawks over the last decade, where they've had our number for quite a number of years until the past season and a half, I think that made us nervous a little bit. And the way they started in the first half, that made us nervous. But yeah, the second half was a walk in the park. We just dominated them in the second half. So it wasn't anywhere near as close a game as what I was expecting. I thought it might have been a close game. Although I haven't said that, as I recall, I think I put a scoreline of something like 41-17, and it was that last garbage time touchdown that they got that kind of knocked me out of that. But yeah, it was a lot more comfortable than what it could have been. What do you make of it, Paul?
Well, if you remember rightly, El Presidente, we were sat with one another because we were at the mini watch party in the casino, and I'm smiling, Gareth, because when Lenore got that pick, I should have been the happiest man because I'd called the bold prediction, but Lee shouted that loud. The whole casino just turned and looked at us and was like, what's going on in there? And we're trying to explain to people who've never watched American football. But you're right. I didn't want to say it earlier. I became a 49ers fan in 2012, Gareth. And the Seahawks have always been a thorn in my side. They've given me some horrible memories. So this year, if for anything else, we beat the Seahawks 3 times in a row and we put 41 points on them in the playoffs. And like you said, Nadji, I remember dipping in the Discord group at half-time and seeing some people panicking. And I was sat with Lee, Connor, Neil Graham, Andy Hodgson. We weren't particularly worried. I mean, there was a Seahawks fan sat with us, and he was like, that is the best the Seahawks have played all season. And we were like, we know we can step it up a gear. And like you said, the second half, I just enjoyed it because, one, I was out at a watch party with friends. 2, it was a Seahawks. And yeah, I'm just smiling because the memory for me, Lee, of that game is when you screamed. Were kind of jumped out with his skin. But yeah, it was an awesome game. And like you said, Nadji, the difference between the two teams was just, you don't even have to look at the score. You just go back and watch that game and you just think why anyone was worried at halftime. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed that one, Gareth.
Yeah, I remember that halftime as well. And I remember thinking this is about as well as the Seahawks can play. And they're not going to play that well for 4 quarters. And this is about as bad as we can play, and we're not going to play that bad for 4 quarters. So I wasn't too concerned. Particularly if it had been anyone else other than the Seahawks, but always with the Seahawks, you just have that the ball's just going to bounce some freakish way, and they're going to benefit from something, and before we know it, but there we go. It didn't happen, and we put away the Seahawks 3 times. So that's good. And that takes us on to the divisional and the visit of the Cowboys and yet more comedy gold to finish a game. Nadji.
Well, I mean, for me, this one is obviously a lot more special because I was there and I got the opportunity to go and enjoy the game live, which, again, they're probably not listening, but Nick and everybody at the Niners, thank you very much for allowing this to happen and opening the gold mine and inviting me and 3 other people there, and Kim was there, and it was so cool to be there in person. Very tense game, however, because the Cowboys were a good team last year and they could have beaten us in a different day. I think the Pollard injury really didn't help them at all. But it was a good game. It was a playoff game, a divisional round, and this rivalry renewed from back in the day, 90s, late 90s. It was good to be a part of it, and kudos to the fans for turning up. There's a lot of them. But yeah, again, it's part of the thing. I don't think I'll ever forget this season. That's obviously a part of why, because I was there and enjoyed the win. It was incredible. And I think the better team won on the day because we made less mistakes and we managed to make them mistakes and take advantage of it. And then the George Kittle catch, which I think is probably the best player of the year in the NFL. It was insane. It's very George Kittle. And right at the time where we needed it, just before the CMC touchdown. Yeah, incredible game, incredible atmosphere. It's hard to take the bias and everything out of it because I was there. So obviously that's my highlight of the season. After seeing Brock play and all that kind of thing, it's just so cool. So yeah. Well, how was it for you guys here?
Who's going to leap in? Paul.
Good.
Go on, Lee.
Go on, then. I'll leave it. I mean,
go on, buddy.
What can't you like about beating the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Especially when you're knocking them out in the playoffs for the second year running. It's just absolutely fantastic. I mean, I don't know why they have the expectations they do every single season, but it's great to see them getting let down. I've got to say, it's great to see them. Yeah. The game again, I think it was a little bit closer than what I was expecting. And as Nadji said, that very last play of the game, 2 seasons running now, you're left wondering, what on earth were the Cowboys doing? What on earth did they think they were going to achieve by doing that? It's great. Every time we beat the Cowboys, I'll be over the moon. Every time we beat the Rams, the Cowboys, the Giants, those are absolutely excellent games for me. So, like I said, there's nothing you can't like about beating the Cowboys. Paul?
Well, for me, we got another awesome photograph. So we all remember Trent Williams the year before. I'm sure you've all seen me share the photo of Fred stood at the line, pointing. That needs to go on your wall, Brett Sinclair. And I'm going to send you a picture of that. And like you said, Lee, the way the game ended again, comedy gold. I have a good friend who's a Cowboys fan. And you're right, every year he tells me it's going to be their year. He's still fuming that Micah Parsons didn't get any votes for the Defensive Player of the Year. But like you said, we beat the Cowboys in the playoffs. Nadji gave us one of my favourite podcasts because we weren't sure whether he was going to join us for the day after. And then, as cool as you like, Nadji Carrar obviously joins us on his phone, California backdrop. And it was like, we were all smiling because you were at the game. And that's what I love about this group. Whenever there's someone over there, you kind of feel like you're there as well. And the fact that you got to go for a playoff game and we won. And like you said, it just built nicely into that Eagles game. I think we did honestly think this is going to be our year. And at that point, when you think back before the Eagles game, Gareth, we were all like, everything was heading in the right direction. We ground out a win that wasn't pretty. It was 19-12. Fred Warner balled out. And like you said, that for me, they're the memories. And I will be sharing that photo many a time between now and September. Rest assured, gents.
How about yourself, Gareth?
Yeah.
What did beating the Cowboys mean to you?
Yeah, beating the Cowboys, knocking them out of the playoffs. There's a sweetness to it. I think there was something quite satisfying in the way that they played well, and we kind of just bullied them into losing the game. I can't describe it better than that, other than this is our house and people don't come here and bully us and sneak out a win. Well, that's what we do. And yeah, the high from that game, and certainly looking at what appeared to be a very beatable Eagles team based on their, they put away the Giants, but the Giants were there in name only, I think, from the highlights I watched. And then a championship game in Philadelphia where it all went wrong, and then even more wrong.
Horribly wrong.
And then things that have gone wrong got injured, and then concussed, and then also furthermore
even more
wrong.
Well,
We covered this fairly recently, so any last words on the game?
I still haven't stomached it, and I don't think I ever will. And it's not so much the bad luck and the fact that our future is a little bit up in the air because we don't know what Brock's injury means to him, and when he comes back, what kind of quarterback is he going to be after an injury like this, which could potentially be career-ending had it been a little worse. It's not even just that, because that's kind of part of football. It's incredibly hard to win a championship, and this is the reason why. You have to, be a good team, but you also have to be a little lucky. And if things have to fall right, like playing the Chargers at the right time, that kind of thing that doesn't feel like much is quite huge. And, having an edge rusher arriving there half a second later or earlier makes such a massive difference in the grand scheme of things. And it's not because of that I will never stomach it, but it's because we didn't have a chance to prove that the Eagles were better than us. And to me, that's just really annoying, because I think we were a better team, and I think we would have won that game. And there's no really anything that can take that out of me, especially the way they played in the Super Bowl. I think we would have beaten both teams they went better than us, and that's what the feeling that I've got that really annoys me, because I think it was our year and we got robbed of it by sheer bad luck, and yeah, it's kind of part of the whole package as well, which makes it this thing that we'll never forget. It's just a shame that it finished like that, but some of the tragedy are the best entertainment out there, so you just have to take it. There's nothing we can do about it. But yeah, I don't think I'll forget being there. I'm glad I was with, I know you weren't there, Gareth, but I'm glad I was with Paul and Lee and we could all share it together. I think it made it slightly easier to swallow, kinda, even though it's still here. But yeah, what a way to end the season. We would have wished for, obviously. But yeah, it's one of those, yeah. I can't.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, everything that could have possibly gone wrong went wrong.
Yeah,
and it went wrong so quickly. I mean, the game was over within the first couple of minutes, and I think everybody knew it, even though we didn't want to.
I was
admit
expecting
it
the ground to give up under us at some point. Yeah, it was just
Yeah, and again, I'm going to agree with Nadji. It felt as though we were robbed, but not robbed by the Eagles.
No.
It felt as though we were robbed by fate. And to me, again, I agree with everything Nadji said. I thought we were the better team out of the two teams in the NFC Championship. I thought we could have gone into Arizona and beaten the Chiefs. I thought the whole script was written for us this year. I thought we had the best roster. We were playing the best on offense, on defense. And it was just fate. It's just that luck. Nadji said it, half a second sooner, half a second later, Brock doesn't get that injury. Just stuff like that. So it was hard to take. And I think because it was so hard to take, I think it's been good that we've given ourselves that 2-3 week period before we've done the season review.
Yeah.
Because it was painful for all of us. Everybody deals with it in different ways, but it was painful for everybody. It was absolutely gut-wrenching. But now that we've had that break, you've gotten past the Super Bowl, and we've had a week since then, we can now look at the whole season objectively rather than emotionally. And I think going back to what we've already said, it's been one of the best seasons I've seen in a very long time. A very long time. And it's a pleasure to be a 49ers fan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Championship
What
game,
about you, Paul?
Well, it's as if Lee was reading my mind there, because all I was going to add to what the chaps have said, I agree with everything that both said. However, it is exciting to be a 49ers fan at this moment in time. I know, Lee, you've tried to dampen my enthusiasm with some of the free agency stuff, and don't worry, we're going to get into that. We've got plenty of content for the off-season, but you said you had a break. Me and Nick did the live last Tuesday, Gareth, and obviously we talked about the Super Bowl, we talked about the honours. I stayed sober for the Super Bowl because I was host of my own watch party. And as I said on last week's show, talking to other fan bases gives you that kind of expectation of hope, like a Bears fan. Our good friend Andy was a Bears fan. He sat next to me, Gareth, and he was like, I just want a season like you guys. The season you guys have had is awesome. He says, well, you're in the playoffs. You can see where it went wrong against the Eagles. And he was talking to me about our team and our roster. And I'm sat there like, yeah, I see where he's coming from here. And yeah, the season's been great. And you think the what if is what we've all come away from the end of the season. You know, like Nadji said, we were stood together watching the game in Leeds. As soon as Brock got injured, we all knew it was game over. But we stayed faithful till the end. We stayed, we cheered our team. That touchdown, CMC running, Gareth, that feeling was awesome. And I cannot wait till we have that again at the next meetup. But yeah, I think other fan bases have given me a bit more optimism because they're saying the season we've had, the roster we've got, the coach we've got, the GM we've got. The loss is still difficult to take. I went on record at the start of the season, we were going to go 13-4. I'm always known for being optimistic. I thought we were going to win the Super Bowl. And like you said, Lee, watching the Chiefs play the Eagles, I was thinking we could have won. We could have won this. The Chiefs weren't the big scary monster that everybody thinks they are. They played well. Mahomes did Mahomes kind of stuff, but we could have won that one. But it gives me hope for next season, Gareth. I'm excited. I'm going to spend the off-season absorbing all the content. We've got our own YouTube channel. We've got our own live shows. We've got the podcast going from strength to strength. So there's anyone who's a UK 49ers fan, now is the time to get on board. And honestly, next year is going to be even better. That's what I'm saying at this moment in time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
What about yourself, Gareth?
I'm looking forward to
what did you make?
Season already.
Well,
yeah,
the thing. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, one season goes, but you take a little bit of a time to digest it, and then I think you kind of look at where we are going forward. You look at a lot of the other news stories around with teams who've got head coaches who have no idea who they are, teams who don't know who they're going to have at quarterback. We've got a bit of that, but I think we know it's going to be between one of two. There's other people who have no idea what their quarterback's going to be or what their team are going to be like. And I think there's a stability in the fact that we've got the 3 championship games in 4 years. It's what Shanahan promised. And this is what success looks like. If you look at a lot of other teams' records, you have to get to the championship game 2 or 3 times to get to the Super Bowl once. It's kind of how it just filters out. And we're getting there. And that's all you can do, because all there is a little bit of luck. And we could have gone to 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 seasons. It's a couple of plays here and there. Obviously, one leads to an injury, a couple from the Rams game the previous year. But that's the difference. We've got I think an ownership and a coach and a GM that's delivering what we want to see, which is a successful team, and that team not having to be completely reinvented each year. There will be evolution, but there's a core of players under contract, players that we've drafted, players that we're fairly confident we will be able to draft because we have drafted well in the last few years. And that's really what I moved on to fairly soon after the game, because I think once the season's gone, it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it except look forward to the next one. So, lads,
I was just going to say,
go on,
ultimately, the NFL, for me anyway, is an entertainment, and I think I have been thoroughly entertained this year by watching our team, and there's not much more you can ask for as a fan. I think, well, that's my opinion. I know people live their fandom in different ways, but what else can you ask for? You sit down on Sunday and you want to pass a good time, and I think that's what we did this year mostly. Because even in the losses, now we can kind of, the Broncos game was so horrible and awful to watch live. But after the therapy session, and now almost 6 months removed from it, not quite. Come on, Jimmy. Quite funny in the end. And ultimately, it's just football. We don't have any control over it. And so, I've been entertained. So I just hope Brock is all right. And that's all that matters right now to me.
Lee?
Go on, tell us how wrong we were on predictions. Leslie wants to say something.
No?
Sorry, say that again, Gareth. What were you asking us there?
I thought you were about to leap in. You looked like you were say something.
I always have something to say. No, go on. Let's go for the bold predictions.
The bold was a bit rusty.
Bold predictions. Well, I mean, there's a lot. There's some which, probably are better saved for maybe the awards show when we start talking about individual players, individual player stats. Yeah. I think, no surprises, none of us actually predicted the Super Bowl correctly, so I can just probably throw that page away because I don't think anybody pretty much got anything.
Nobody got the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, me and Paul said Chiefs. You guys have
that's not bad.
Chargers. So
yeah,
that's not so good. Have you got any? We're going to talk about like play of the season and perhaps other things in the awards, but maybe on field or off field. Have you got a key memory of the season? What do you think you're going to remember most?
Well, for me, it's easy because it's obviously because of the personal experience I had while I was out there. It's got to be the Saints game when I was on the field before half time, the 2-minute one, and doing the trivia quiz at Levi's. Just to be able to be that close as the game is actually being played. I was literally stood in the corner of the end zone while we were at that side of the field. attacking. So yeah, I mean, to me, that was probably my highlight of being at the game. But then there's just so many highlights like that from that trip, because obviously I can't not mention actually being stood talking to Jed York.
Yeah. Or
that was just
announcing a pick, maybe.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's not the season, though, is it? That's not the season.
Well, it is technically. The season starts 15th of March. 15th of March.
But if we're talking about play...
No, not necessarily play. Just, well, anything. If it's a particular play you remember, then...
No, so... I mean, obviously, I would always go for the personal side because it was personal to me. That made the actual regular season for me. Those two different events. Outside of that, when you have a look at the player and what the players did, we had so many good players during the season. I think I'd be doing one of them a disservice if I don't pick at least half a dozen players, because it's been so exciting watching the 49ers, and we've had these wow moments. I mean, I could pick the Deommodore interception against the Seattle Seahawks, but I mean, that was fueled more by alcohol. So I don't know. I'd find it tough to actually pick a player that I thought was the best player of the season.
Well, save it for the award show. You've got a bit of homework there.
Save it for next time. For me, it's also kind of personal, but also it's all of us, you guys listening right now, and all four of us here. To me, it feels like this season, as well as being one of the best seasons on the field, for the group, has been absolutely incredible. And I feel like the group has made a big leap forward in terms of its reach, what it does, the content we give to people, and what it's able to achieve. 3 watch party, essentially. 1 was us, and 2 was the 49ers. I don't quite think that's what we had in mind when Lee and I were in Vegas talking about the future and what we could do and everything that could potentially happen, even though there was plans. I don't think we quite saw the jump that the group would take, and absolutely the buy-in that we get from people that in everything we do, which is incredibly humbling, and I'm very proud of being part of this group and doing this podcast, and we got a live show. We're on YouTube. It's insane the amount of things that we can put down, and what we did and what you guys did. And to me, I think it's the same again. It's part of the package of this season. But, being able to go over there to Vegas and then to Levi, and then being part of this, and then the watch parties, and then the group is growing. We have so many demands every day, and I'm not quite sure why. It's insane. We're growing, we're getting better, and it's amazing to see. So to me, that is the highlight of my season, is us as a community being even better and carrying on that path.
Paul, can you narrow it down to just one?
Well, I'm gonna stay on the same page as the chaps. So we've got the award ceremony. So I think we can talk about individual performance. When you're talking off the field, for me, the fact that all 4 of us got to meet in Leeds, and it sounds daft, Gareth, but this is a hobby. It's a team we love. But like the impact it has in our personal lives, at Christmas, Tracy arranged with Lee to get me the Golden Gate photo frame. And the photo she put in was us 4 with the flags. And that is one of my favourite memories. I love the fact that the 4 of us have been doing this for years. We're all friends. We all have banter in the group. But that was the first time that all 4 of us had met in person. And it was just like 4 friends. And like you said, Nadji, the future, you think back to when you and Lee went to Vegas and me and Gareth were holding the fort back at home. And I was super excited seeing you guys on the telly. And then Lee was announcing the pick. We thought Nick Clark was going to maybe have 1 watch party in the UK. Then obviously we bounced back from the sad news of the Queen, but we still went ahead with our watch party. And like you said, we're in the off season now, and the membership requests are through the roof. The YouTube numbers are going through the roof, which it's very humbling for 4 guys in the UK. And you add the 5th member because Nick does the lives, and like you said, we've had other people on the pods. We've got other members of the community going on like Let's Talk Sports and doing their own thing. And for me, I'll support anybody in the community. I think we're all on the same page, but the watch parties have been awesome, Gareth. And as much as the Leeds watch party has this curse and all the rest of it, the last one, the Eagles, I thought it was brilliant. I know before you jump in, Lee, I thought the breakfast suite at Ellen Road was awesome. I thought from the second you walked in, you knew it was a Niners event. I think the staff were brilliant. I think the room itself was good. And if it is to be there again, and people are going to like mourn that it's at Leeds, come and have a look, because that venue was awesome. And I would go to a watch party there again in a heartbeat. But my memory's definitely got to be meeting everyone in the community, sharing those moments. The emotional roller coaster, Gareth. We wouldn't be the 49er faithful UK if we didn't have the highs and lows, buddy. But it's been an awesome year, and I can't wait to do it all again next year.
And more.
And more.
And more.
No pressure, Lee.
Probably watch the watch party for me. Seeing a pub at least half full of faithful, the half of the pub that we had. That was great just to be in there, in amongst a little bit of cheer. Went a bit flat, but I think the atmosphere said it all. We played poorly, lost the game we should have won, and everyone was still having a good time. Everyone was well behaved. I think everybody got involved in the spirit of it, and it's a great little fan group to be part of, I think. And if you're not, then you're missing out. So come and join us in the 2023 season if you can and if you're able. So hopefully we'll have at least one event, won't we? If not more. And obviously there could be the Niners in London still. So we shall wait for the schedule with probably a little bit more excitement than we usually would.
Usual, yeah.
Any final words on the season before we wrap it up?
I just want to say it's been refreshing as men to hear other men say how much we love men on this team, because I'm laughing because Nadji talked about loving Fred Warner. I kept talking about CMC. Tracy says, "I've heard you say you love that man one more time. I'm going to buy you the jersey yourself just to keep you quiet." And the impact, you can't just have, there isn't one player in our team. You look at our own jersey collections and you just think, I want that jersey, I want that jersey. And that just shows the team that we've got, Gareth. And I can't wait to see the jerseys people buy in the off-season, because we're at that time of the year now. There's no football. I don't care about the XFL. I know Nadji had a bit of conversation in the Discord group about it. I'm the same as you. Not for me. But we're not going anywhere. The podcast will still be coming out, the live show. And Lee, we might have a few special bonus editions, mightn't we, about a certain trip to San Francisco?
Yeah. Well, once I get me backside into gear, so that should have happened last week. Just been incredibly busy last week, not realising that there was a few different events on. But hopefully I'll send out an invite to the guys this week, find out when they're available. David Ellicott has just said to us, just tell us when to be on. Tell us when to be on and I'll be on. So, we'll get that sorted, get that episode rounded off. I very much doubt we'll keep it under an hour, so I think it's going to be quite a long episode. But we'll get that one out.
Great stuff. A last word, Nadji. Or if not, I'm going to wrap.
No, I've said it's been a great season. And I'm very much looking forward to the next one, which is starting sooner than we think. It's in 3 weeks. Free agency, and then the draft, and then here we go again, people. Another quest for 6, and we can get there. We've got the team, but we've seen it. It takes a lot to get there, and but I know we can. And I can't wait to be part of it and talk about it and all that. So onward and upwards.
Yeah, we will continue talking about it undoubtedly.
Oh yeah.
Great stuff. So thanks, gents, and thanks to everyone who listens and watches the show. You can find those like and subscribe buttons and give us a little bit of love. That was very topical from Paul. That was exactly what was written on my notes. And it's on a ticker underneath YouTube. If you're watching rather than listening, we will be back with more stuff soon. So until then, go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the